Hello Toy Collector fans, Universal Toy Collector here and welcome to the channel. And welcome to another episode of My Collecting Life, the weekly series where I get to chat with you, members of the toy collecting community, about your own personal collections, finding out what got you into collecting in the first place and what gives you that toy collecting buzz. Righty ho then, you lot. So who is the guest on this week's episode, I hear you all ask? Well, why don't we all find out? Sit yourselves down, make yourselves comfortable, and let's take a look at some of her collection in a musical montage. So yet again, we are treated to another fantastic collections. So I spotted some Turtles there, some Star Wars, and there's some more love for Funko Pops. It is a pleasure to welcome to the channel for the first time, Collector Catlin. Hello, how are you?
Hello, I'm very good, thank you. Thanks so much for having me on. I'm really excited to talk about all of this mess behind me.
Mess, it's a wonderful mess, I must say. It's a pleasure having you on the channel. Now, I reached out to you, God blimey, it seems like ages ago now, doesn't it? Quite a while back
Yeah,
and
it
stuff like
does.
that. So yeah, we
Yeah, months and months ago.
finally getting to chat. So that's pretty cool. So you would say you know a little bit about the series, which is absolutely marvelous. Thank you. I do appreciate you watching. I've got 10 questions for you, all about you and your collection. Run time roughly about an hour. If we go over, who cares? It's my channel. I can do what I want. So it's all good. So when you're ready, we'll crack on with the first collection. First question. Right. What toy lines were you into as a kid? And what memories do you have of those toy lines?
Oh wow, that's a great opening question. It's really difficult as well, actually, because when I was younger, it was just sort of a bombardment of TV shows, and I was very much into Nickelodeon. But the
Okay.
Nickelodeon shows I was into, yeah, they there was just no merchandise of it, and it was really frustrating because you'd see something and you'd really want it. A bit like Fairy Odd Parents, when those Funko exclusives came out this year at San Diego, I really wanted them, but they just completely sold out and weren't available on Funko Europe. And I feel like that was the thing I've been waiting for since I was a kid, since,
Oh no.
no Nickelodeon merchandise around. But yeah, I feel like the biggest toy line was probably Doctor Who. Massive Doctor Who fan, especially of the David Tennant era. And one of
Okay.
my fondest memories of toy collecting as a kid was having my pocket money and going to Argos, and it wasn't screens back then, it was, the buttons, putting the
Yeah,
buttons
yeah.
in and then seeing what Doctor Who toys they brought out. And that used to just fill me with so much joy because I'd be looking at them all, and it was the first thing I really wanted to collect. Like, I didn't just want one or two, I wanted the whole set. And that, I think, is what kick started and sparked the interest in collecting within me. But years down the line, as I was going into secondary school, I made a huge mistake of selling. And I hate to say this, especially on a toy collecting channel, but I sold all of the figures. Everyone forgive me. I sold all of them, not even each,
Wow.
but as a job lot at a boot sale for £1. And
What?
to this
Oh my
day,
god.
yep, £1, all of them, because I thought,
Oh.
oh, Doctor Who's not cool anymore. And yeah, of course, they were snapped up by someone very clever who obviously took full advantage of the situation. And
Oh wow.
now I'm really trying, as you can see behind me, to rectify previous mistakes and try and buy them all back. So some of these probably were mine at some point as a kid. I'm
You just
just
brought them
buying them
back. Yeah,
back
yeah.
for like quadruple the price.
I can
So
just
yeah, I
imagine
think,
people sitting there watching when you said that and they're going, "Oh, no."
yeah, yeah.
For a pound, I mean, what
Honestly,
did you
I'm
get with
doing
that
that
pound?
internally as well.
What did you get with that pound?
Probably a Freddo frog or something like that.
Oh my
Something
gosh.
really rubbish. Yeah,
Oh
it was
no.
a massive mistake. And just to make it worse, I'll actually add, that's just reminded me, I actually did the same with all of my Star Wars toys at the time as well. So I sort
Oh.
of
Oh.
fluctuated between Doctor Who and Star Wars. And again,
Yeah.
all of them I had C3PO, Return of the Jedi, the lot. And again, all of them, boots out, job lot, £1. And they went so fast. And I was delighted at the time because I was about 10. I thought, oh, I've got £2 now, I'm rich. And now I just want to,
Wow.
if I could turn back time, honestly.
Wow. I wish I'd met you at a blinking boot fair and sold your lot for a pound. I'd have been over the moon. I think most people would be. Good God. So you're saying about
Yeah, absolutely.
Nickelodeon then? Oh, sorry. No, go on.
Oh, no, no, go on, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you were saying about Nickelodeon. What other things on Nickelodeon were there at the time? I mean, because I can remember things like Rugrats and um, Clarissa. Well, I can't remember her name. There was a TV about a girl called Clarissa. Do you remember that one?
Right. No, I
Clarissa
don't.
Skirball or Clarissa, I can't remember. And oh yeah, yeah. So I used to watch Nickelodeon quite a bit. I was just interested to hear what sort of like other TV series you watched on there and stuff like that.
Yeah, the majority of them weren't animated, which is probably why there wasn't much merchandise of them, and obviously
Right.
Funko was, at the time, weren't really a thing. I feel like if Funkos were, there would have been a lot more available.
Yeah.
But it was things like Drake and Josh, which I loved, Keenan and Kel, which I adore. I've got a couple of Keenan and Kel stickers. Good Burger, when Good Burger came out. And there actually is one thing that I did manage to get, is there's a Jack Black movie that was Nickelodeon called Nacho Libre, and it's one of
Yeah, I
my
remember that.
favourite
Yeah.
films.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's brilliant, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I love Jack Black.
I'd
And
say I remember it. I know of it. I've not watched it, but yeah, I know the
oh,
one you mean, yeah.
you've got to do
Is it
it.
alright, is it?
You've got to do it. It's
Yeah.
hilarious. Yeah, it's so funny, and it was just such a different thing for Nickelodeon to produce at the time. And there's a Funko Pop of him, so I managed to get one, but I haven't got the chase yet. And so the film is about him as a wrestler. So the chase
Alright.
variant, he's wearing his wrestling mask, which is really cool. So that's
Yeah.
one thing I want. But yeah, pretty much just sort of anything that Dan Schneider did at the time, when he was quite big in the Nickelodeon world, was what I
Yeah.
watched. Not much animated. And I've only recently got into Ninja Turtles. So that was on Nickelodeon at the
Okay.
time, but I didn't used to watch it because I was so preoccupied with all of the other shows.
Oh, wow. Wow. Melissa Joan Hart, I think was the lady's name, the girl's name. She played Sabrina the
Oh yes,
Teenage Witch. Do you know the one I
yes,
mean?
Sabrina. Yeah, is it oh god, I can't remember it, but I loved Sabrina as well. When Sabrina was out, um No, I can't remember. I know what you're talking about now, though, because I can
Yeah, yeah,
picture her. I
yeah.
can picture the opening credits as well, but I just can't remember the name.
Wow.
I'll
God, that's
probably
going
shout
back
it out
to.
at random at some other point, and then you'll just be like, "What?" And I'll be like, "That's the name. That's the name. It's come to me."
So was it then just the TV series then that got you into collecting toys, or did you have like an interest in certain toy properties at the time? I mean, you say you're into Star Wars. I mean, what was it that got you into Star Wars? Because you said in the green room that you like all the Star Wars collections and stuff. So what got you into Star Wars?
Yeah, well, it's actually a really weird story. When I was a lot younger and I was in infant school, there was a boy that came in with trading cards, and at the time I was trading
Okay.
people Pokemons, and he come up to me and he had these Lego Star Wars cards, and I thought they looked cool, but I'd never watched Star Wars. So, and he had this one that he kept talking about. It was a really ultra rare General Grievous of Lego, and I thought, wow,
All
that
right.
looks really cool. So I wanted to find out, being into Doctor Who and start sci-fi monsters, I wanted to find out who that character was and where he got these cards from. So I went down to WH Smith's, had a look at the cards and thought, actually, they're really cool. And then just began watching the Star Wars films and then fell in love with them. Unfortunately, I did watch them in order. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh,
And yeah, at first I was like,
oh dear.
I'm not sure it's, I couldn't really grasp the story. And then as soon as I
Yeah,
got to sort of the end half of Revenge of the Sith and then went
yeah,
into A New Hope and then the original trilogy, I
yeah.
just fell in love with it. And I went out and bought these cards and then I began trading them in school as well. So, yeah, it was really just from him bringing in that trading card and me
Oh,
seeing it
wow.
thinking, wow, that looks cool. It just completely encapsulated me. And I just wanted to watch Star Wars and
Yeah.
buy Star Wars merch. I think also being at that age and getting in from school and you have all the stresses of what you think are really hard stresses at the time, but they're
Oh, it was a
not,
hard
just
life
like
being a
silly
kid, wasn't it?
childhood.
Absolute hard life. Yeah, I know
Oh,
what you mean. Yeah.
yeah. But that's it. Yeah, it's tough. How did we survive? It's really tough.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just just doing, being at school and then going home
Mm,
and watching Star Wars, just buying an action figure or the cards and just feeling like you own a piece of the film, I think
yeah.
was what I just really enjoyed because it was like a comforting thing overall.
So what action figures did you have then? It must have been the prequel trilogy figures that were out of at that time, or did you actually manage to get
Yeah,
some of the vintage figures? Because
yeah.
it was
So
Power
I
Force
had
2 as well, wasn't it, that come out?
Yes, it was. Yes, so the ones that I had, a lot of them actually belonged to my cousin, who lived in Ireland at the time, who was
Okay.
doing what I did later on in life, and he was coming out of his Star Wars phase. So he
Okay.
had an original 80, and I just thought that looked amazing. So he gave that to me, and he gave me just a bunch of, I think they were Kenners mostly,
Yeah.
but they ranged from all of the movies because he didn't want them anymore, and they were all unboxed. Some of them had wear, but I didn't mind because as a kid, I wanted to play with them. I didn't want to display them or anything like that. So I know that
Yeah.
there was, I'm not actually sure what make it was. It wasn't Kenner, but there was a C3PO, and he was so shiny, and I loved it. And it broke, and I was devastated. It was C3PO, and he had his silver leg, and it was a
Oh,
silver
right,
leg
yeah.
that came off, and it
Oh,
broke my
right.
heart. And yeah, I can't remember the make of that one. But yeah, they ranged from all of the movies, and my favourite was a little Wicket, which was one of the original ones,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
some on my shelf over there, which I absolutely love.
Awesome, awesome. And what about Doctor Who? Because I mean, I've it's one of those things. I mean, I remember Doctor Who from the 80s. I'm a little bit older than you, and it was just one of those things I couldn't really get into. I liked watching. I mean, some of the episodes I saw with Tom Baker, I that was okay. Then I think Peter Davison was after that, but
Yeah,
it wasn't one of those things that I felt I had to sit down and watch weekly every week to catch the next episode. You know what I mean? If it was on, then I would kind
yeah.
of watch it as a kid. It wasn't one of those things. I mean, what was it that got you into Doctor Who?
Again, it's a really weird story. So back in the good old days of Woolworths,
Oh
love
yeah,
Woolworths.
yeah.
I went in with my nan, and I just seen one of the DVDs, and it was David Tennant with an ood, and I don't know. I just feel like my parents were into horror when I was their whole life. When I was a kid, I'd see them watching things like Alien, whatever, and I was drawn to it because I just found it really interesting, and I found
Yeah,
the Universal monsters interesting as well. I mean, I loved Bela Lugosi, and every Halloween I wanted to be Dracula. So I just grew up. I don't know. I just feel like I was drawn to it, seeing, you know, bright, colourful DVD with an alien on it, but something that
Yeah.
was targeted not necessarily at kids. But obviously, it was
Yeah.
something that I could go into the shop and buy with my pocket money.
Okay.
So when I bought it and I watched the episodes, I just feel like it was. I just felt like it was a really personal thing. Like, okay, they've got Alien and all of that type of stuff, Predator, which I can't watch the full films of yet. I'm going to sit and watch Doctor Who, and then I started going through the back catalogue, and really, I only watched David Tennant fully. I managed to catch a few of his episodes after that as they were coming out in real time.
Yeah.
And I just fell in love with it. I really liked David Tennant and his character and how bubbly and energetic he was. And when I got to sort of the Christopher Eccleston point, they were okay. I watched them, but as you said, when you seen Tom Baker ones, it wasn't something you'd sit down and watch weekly. And then when Matt Smith came in, I had that feeling again. I was like, actually, I feel like it was just David Tennant that drew me in. So while I love Doctor Who and I've seen a lot of things from the old Doctors, you know, Tom Baker, Peter Davison, Sylvester McCoy, it's really David Tennant's ones that I'm a fan of. I wouldn't ever buy anything from the other Doctors because they don't interest me as much.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. I've got to say, I mean, it is a massive toy line, isn't it? I mean, I went up to Leicester Vintage Toy Shop and they've got a massive section of Doctor Who, and I was just like, how many figures do they want to do? It was incredible the amount of figures that you could get. I mean, all the different Daleks and stuff like that. It was amazing, and I was like, wow. And I'm kind of glad that I didn't get into Doctor Who because it's just a massive toy line, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I need that one, and I'm running out of them as it is anyway. But yeah, and for those of us that aren't fashion experts, could you please explain to the people that wouldn't know what an oud is?
An oud, okay, so an oud is like in Doctor Who, it's an alien. I actually have a figure of one here, which I'll take out. This is an oud, so it's like an alien that holds this ball that it communicates through. It's not the fashion one.
I thought it was an item of clothing. I'm getting it
I think there is
that you wear around your neck.
Yeah, I think there is. Yeah,
it's a snood, isn't it? Yeah, I'm so sorry. Yeah. Snood.
So this guy hasn't got one of them on either, which is kind of sad. Maybe they should have done that to really bring out the name of him.
Oh my god, I can't. I'm so sorry. I got it mixed up with a snood.
No, you're fine.
Good lord. Wow,
that's brilliant.
Unbelievable. What was your favorite toy line as a kid and why? Or did it change as you sort of like got older? Yeah, because it fads, isn't it, at that age?
Yeah, it really does. I feel like if I had to pick one when I was younger, I'd say Lego.
Okay.
There was, but not a specific franchise or a movie or anything. Just little different parts of Lego. A lot of polybags actually, because they were cheap, and I felt like I didn't have the attention span at that age to build a massive, you know, Millennium Falcon or anything. So it's just the little polybags. But from those, I could build a whole city or a whole little imaginary town. So I loved building Lego and seeing what could be made, and it occupied my time, which I liked because it was very, you know, you're going to sit down, you're going to do this, you're going to build it, and then you can imagine all these different scenarios instead of when I was older and just opening things appealed to me more instead of sitting down and building things, which is kind of funny because I don't buy too much Lego really anymore. I have a couple of the Lego City bits on the top of one of my cabinets. But yeah, as you said, it sort of phased, and now I'm very much into Super 7 reactions, a bit of everything really. I'd say it's hard for me to pick a specific at the moment. McFarlane as well for all the Walking Dead stuff, because that's my favourite thing ever.
One of the next questions I was going to ask you is, what toy lines do you currently collect?
Yeah, so again, like it's so many different ones. Funko, Super 7, Jada, Super 7 reactions. But the McFarlane lines, I really love. I'm a massive Walking Dead fan, and I'm just so thankful.
The DC Multiverse line, yeah?
No, I haven't got any DC. No.
Oh, okay. What do you collect from
sort of spanner in the works.
No,
literally just the the Walking Dead range.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, so I'm a massive Walking Dead fan.
Yeah.
It's my obsession. It's my favorite thing ever. And they brought out different series of action figures, and a lot of people
Okay.
didn't like them because of the facial qualities and details within them. Some of the characters do look less like others, but just being a fan of the show, I had to get as many as I could, because
Yeah.
anything that's Walking Dead merchandise, kind of no matter what it looks like, I'll have it, just because I want
Okay.
to sort of hoard it and hoard as much as I
Yeah.
can. But that's an ongoing collection, because they're very hard to get in the UK now, unless you go to,
Okay.
as you mentioned at the start, toy fairs and comic cons.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
commercially, they weren't very available over here, which is a shame. But that's
Yeah.
definitely a toy line that I actively will always be collecting until I get the set, I think. I'm not doing bad so far, but there's still definitely
When you say the faces don't
a
look
way to
like,
go.
when you say the faces don't look like the characters and stuff like that, are they supposed to be based off the TV series, or are they based off the comics, the figures? Because it was a
Yeah,
comic
so
book to start with, wasn't it?
it was, yes. So there are a couple of comic book action figures out there. I only have a couple of the
Yeah.
characters that weren't ever made into TV show characters, but were in the TV show. So, for example, Princess, there's a comic book action figure of her, which I own, which is Skybound. And I really wanted them to make a TV series one, and they never did. So I thought, okay, I'll get the comic book version. And I have read the comics. I have all 4 compendiums, and I have Rick Grimes 2000 and all the spin offs. But
Wow.
yeah, the McFarlane ones were supposed to look like TV show characters, and people have a lot of issues with the Daryl and Carol ones. And I can
Okay.
see it more so in the Carol one. The face
Yeah.
detail isn't really overly accurate. But again, as I said earlier, because it's Walking Dead and it's the only action figures that were brought out for the series, I had to have them.
Does that bother you? Does that bother you that figures aren't screen accurate? Because I mean, I know as a kid when I was playing with Star Wars, I mean, it was just basic 5 POA, because that, and at that time that was, you know, quite high tech, and you know, for
Yeah,
that time, you know, back in the 70s
yeah.
and 80s and stuff. But d- does that bother you that they don't look screen accurate, or are you quite happy having them as they are?
Yeah, I think it does. It does bother me, just because it was such a big series, and McFarlane's
Mm.
not a small toy company; they're a massive
Yeah.
toy company, and it does leave you questioning: is this really the best you could have done?
Yeah.
But I think if I look beyond that, and sort of if you stand from a distance, then it looks fine. But when you really inspect it and look close up, then I do question: is this really the best that you could have done with this toy?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, apart from the Funkos, there's just nothing else really that, and merchandise wise as well in the UK, there's not much, and it's such a
Yeah.
shame, because like that, if there was more, I probably wouldn't have got them exact ones, but because there's not, and I just want to own as much as I can from the show, I
Yeah.
felt like getting them. But some of
Yeah.
the characters are very accurate and really look like them, but yeah, the ones that aren't, it does definitely sort of leave a sour taste in the mouth, and you're thinking,
Oh,
what made
I
you
mean,
decide on those?
God, I mean, I had one Walking Dead figure which we've just sold, and the wife bought it for me. And it was one of the first figures she got me, and I think it was the 12-inch version of Rick Grimes, one of the bigger, and he's got the gun over his back like that.
Nice.
So
Yes,
yeah,
yeah.
but it's because it was the only one we had, and we just thought, well, it doesn't really go in with anything else in the collection, so we've literally, so yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it was cool.
Yeah,
I mean, oh, sorry, go on.
yeah, I know the exact one you're talking about.
Yeah,
There's a Negan one as well.
that's
Um,
it. Yeah,
but yeah, yeah, I know. And the box on that one as well was kind of cool. On the Rick one, it, it displayed the figure
yeah,
quite nice, but also
yeah.
unboxed. But I get what you're saying, where it didn't really have a place within yours.
I think if if I'd have, at the time got Negan and maybe a couple of others, then I would have probably end up keeping it. But it just was one
Yeah,
of those things that passed me by. I mean, when The Walking Dead first came out, everybody was raving about it and stuff like that, and it wasn't one of the things that I jumped to and started watching straight away. So we had
yeah,
hours of fun binge watching it from series 1 all the way through to the present, and stuff like that. And I've got to say,
yeah,
I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I thought Negan, I just was a character. I just thought he was
yeah,
absolutely fantastic. Sarcasm, the way he was so cocky, he was a gobshite. He didn't You know, he was just incredible. And it's Jeffrey Dean Morgan, wasn't it, that played him? And I just thought he was like
Yes.
superb. And when he came into it, that's when it really spiked my attention. I was like, okay, right, this guy is quality. I really like him. I mean, he did some awful stuff, but what a
Yeah.
character.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. There's something so captivating about Negan. I think because he was
Yeah,
so horrible, but
yeah,
in a way, he had that endearingness to him. In as you said, in a really weird way. He did horrible things, but yeah,
yeah.
what a character! Like he was so evil, but he was brilliant to watch. But originally, though, he was cast as John Hamm. So I don't know if you're familiar with John Hamm. He was in Mad Men.
No.
Um, but yeah, he was originally cast as Negan, so thank God because I love John Hamm, don't get me wrong, but thank God they
Yeah.
brought in Jeffrey Dean Morgan because, as you said, he was just perfect for the role.
He,
Really
the
was.
thing is, you can't imagine anybody. It's just like all these roles. I mean, Tom Selleck was going to be playing Indiana Jones, and you know he couldn't do it because he was
Yeah,
committed to something else, and then it went to Harrison Ford. And you often wonder what would it be like with that person that would have played that part if if you could have made
yeah,
it. Do you know what I mean? I think Harrison Ford is Indiana Jones. I think Jeffrey Dean Morgan is
yeah,
is Negan for sure. It's funny how it works
yeah,
out, isn't it?
absolutely. Yeah, totally
Um,
agree. Yeah, it's weird.
going going back a question because I missed one. When did you
Oh yeah.
stop playing with your toys, and when did you become a collector?
Oh, I'd say difficult. Probably only about 10 months ago. Well, no, not in a playing sense, but I only properly started
Yeah, yeah,
collecting.
yeah.
um, Properly collecting about 10 months ago.
Oh, really?
Um,
Wow, not long then.
yeah, well, properly, yeah, no, not long. I'm still pretty new to it all, but that's only due to space issue. So
Yeah, well,
I'd say
yeah,
when I stopped,
yeah.
yeah, as many can relate.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think we all can, yeah.
um, yeah, definitely. It's tricky because I think I stopped playing with things around about the time of the boot sales, sort of pre-teen, and I thought this isn't
Yeah,
cool anymore. And I got rid of everything from my childhood and just wanted to become this sort of person that was ready to be an adult and
yeah,
all of that sort of thing at the time. But I feel like with regards to collecting, during that time it was always something I still wanted to do, and I'd sort of think
mm,
about it from a distance, but I didn't want to come uncool or anything like that. Even though it's not at the time, I just had that association in my head because no one within my inner circle was collecting things or talking about
yeah,
things that I had the same interest in. So it wasn't until we had a house move a couple of years ago and there was a spare room and I thought I'd love to have that, and I'd just love to really build up things that I've always wanted to do in the past and that I've kept my eye on, because during that time I did go to comic cons and I'd always see things and how the vendors would have the massive displays and I'd think they
yeah,
look amazing, they look so cool, and I'd see people
yeah,
buying them and I'd envy these people thinking, man, you've got room for that, you can get all of these cool things and I can't. And after a while, when I managed to get this room, I thought, that's it, it's my time. I'm going to start building up everything that I've seen at these shows for years, get things back from my childhood, and really build it up and start properly collecting and
yeah,
making up for previous errors and mistakes. So I think there was a pretty big gap between the stop playing and the collecting and putting things
yeah.
out. It was probably a gap of about 15 years, which is crazy.
Wow, wow. I mean,
Yeah.
to be fair, I mean, there's some people have left it quite a while before they've started collecting. I mean, I was chatting to one guy recently called Adam, and he's part of a long time ago, and
Yes.
he's just relatively new at collecting. So it's I think it's great. More and more people are getting into it, and because people need an outlet, don't they? They need something to
Yes.
they need something to take away the mundane chores of life and stuff like that, or the real world issues and stuff like that. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know how. I mean, we can get
Absolutely.
onto this a bit later, but I just love coming in here and just looking at the collection and stuff like that. And I'm sure you probably feel the same way. Not looking at my collection,
Yeah.
but looking at yours, obviously. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, well, same. I love looking at what other people have. I was just sitting here,
yeah,
and I know it's on my phone, so it's only small. But even when I'm watching your past videos, I find that the other people that you speak to, I'm looking at what they've got, because I just find it really interesting. Because I think it's just so much about a person and even how they have them displayed. Obviously, yours
yeah,
are all very neat and they're all in their sections, which I love. I've sort of try and do that as much as I can with the space I've got. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, I totally agree. I just love coming out here and just watching. I actually used to have a TV out here, and I got rid of it a couple months ago. Because anytime I'm out here, I'm
Okay.
not watching it. I'm looking at all this
Yeah.
stuff. So, it's I totally understand, and I definitely relate to that. I'm the same.
So do you know the circle of friends that you hang around with now? I mean, do they know you collect? Are they aware of it, or are you still kept that quiet and not said anything to them?
Yeah, they all know. A lot of them. So I studied TV and film at college and then at uni.
Oh,
So
right.
being
Wow.
within that specific group, I think there was a lot more people that would consider themselves as being nerdy or geeky, and there was a lot
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
discussions about favorite franchises and movies, and we had to look across
Yeah.
all genres. But the ones people would really anchor down on were ones similar to all of this stuff. So I felt
Mm.
like within that group, that's when you sort of, I don't like the saying to find your tribe, but when you find people that you have that common interest with, not that any of
Yeah.
them are collectors to a massive degree, but they all definitely collect stuff from their favorite franchises, Marvel Funkos or the
Yeah.
DC McFarlanes you mentioned earlier. They all collect something to a degree, but just not on as large a scale.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely now more so there's people that will come in here and they'll sort of walk in and go, oh my God, it looks like a toy shop.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but that's great because this is, an insight into my mind.
Yeah.
And I think they're a bit like, oh wow, that this is a lot like, when are you going to stop buying stuff? But that's the
Mm.
thing from being a collector, is you also know that there is no stop now. Once you get going and you find the joy it brings you, well, why
Yeah.
should you stop? It's just
Well,
something that
yeah,
makes you happy,
absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
that's it.
Absolutely. And
So
I've noticed in
yeah.
your collection as well, you've got quite a bit that are still in boxes. So are you predominantly an inbox collector?
Oh, yeah, I think from looking around at everything, yes. But
Yeah.
I definitely, it was actually from starting my Instagram page that I seen people getting toys unboxed, and I thought they look amazing. There's something about unboxed toys. I don't really like my box stuff on display that much. I just find it, not all of it, but sometimes it just
Yeah.
takes up so much room, and I don't feel like you can see the little details. Like I have an Ecto one Jada on my side, and I've always wanted to unbox it, but at the same time I don't. So
Yeah.
I thought, no, I'll keep it boxed, but I'd love to really, be able to open it and open the doors and look at all the little details and look at the
Yeah.
proton packs and all of that type of stuff. But I think, yeah, predominantly inbox, but it's not an easy thing because all of it I would love to unbox, because there's something about unboxed action figures and toys that I just think is really aesthetically pleasing. So I'm happy with the Doctor Who ones. That's the first sort of set that I've really been able to do that with and have them all
Yeah.
displayed out.
Yeah. When you unbox your figures, a lot of people have this fetish of unboxing their figures and sniffing the figures. Have you ever done that? I personally don't do it. I don't open a figure.
No.
I don't do it. I don't do it. But I mean, some people do. Some people do that. And I don't know why
Really?
they do it. It's like, what? Yeah, yeah.
No way.
Yeah, yeah,
God,
yeah.
I was
Yeah,
joking. Oh
absolutely.
no, that's
No,
real.
no, no,
Wow.
absolutely. There's some people
No,
that
I've
I don't do it. I think it's disgusting, but no, no, I don't. But there's some people that do it. But yeah,
yeah.
that's crazy. But
Wow. Yeah, no, I haven't. I mean, I've got two scented Funkos, and even with them, I couldn't do it because it just felt weird to me. So I sort of just was like, oh, I wonder what it smells like. But I didn't actually, open it and,
yeah,
no.
yeah,
Because I don't think plastic has a nice smell to it. It's sort of, even wearing Halloween masks, I think sometimes I'm a bit like, oh, God, because the smell of plastic, I don't think is a nice smell. So
yeah, yeah.
that's crazy to me
Well,
that that's a
back in the 70s
thing.
well, back in the 80s when they released the TIE Fighter pilot, the original Kenner TIE Fighter pilot, you open that up and it
Yeah.
smelled of strawberries. It smelled of strawberry shortcake. And I think the story goes,
Really?
I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, people, but I think what happened was there was like something got from the strawberry shortcake got mixed in with the TIE Fighter pilot, and that's why it ended up smelling of
No.
strawberries. Absolutely, yeah. So that is, I was like,
No
lovely. It's like
way.
brilliant. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh
Awesome
my
stuff.
God.
Yeah.
Could you imagine that back then, opening that thinking, cool, what's going on? Like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
crazy.
it's been in that little packet and bubble for a while, isn't it? You open it up and it's like, oh yes. But yeah, I think that I mean, I can remember as kids, we always used to just like, where's the TIE Fighter? No, it was a disgusting habit. It really was. We had to snap out of that pretty quick. Um, do you have a sentimental or prized piece in your collection?
Yes, I do. It's strange. It's a strange story, and it's not actually out here. So I have the majority of my collection out here, but then I have a few other bits in one of my other in like my actual room itself.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's I've never actually posted about this or mentioned this to anyone, so this is weird. But when I was going to Comic Cons, there was a particular actor that I really admired, from The
Yeah.
Walking Dead, of course.
Okay.
And this particular actor just had really helped me through so much in life, and I really idolized them. And I began talking to them at Comic Cons, and I'd see them as much as I could. And obviously, then they started to sort of recognize me. But there was a period where they weren't in the UK that much, and I'd only met them
Okay.
once at this point, and they had to cancel their appearance because they were tied up with other commitments. So I wrote
Yeah.
a letter to the set of Walking Dead, and I sent it, and I thought, oh well, I'll see what happens. A few months later, I think I was 17 at the time, so I didn't really
Yeah.
get any posts. I didn't have bills or anything like that. And I remember walking down the stairs. I'd just woken up. It was a weekend, and I got halfway down the stairs, and I seen a letter that had been put on the side, and it had my name on it. And I thought, where the hell has that come from? Because I don't get it. It wasn't in my birthday. It wasn't a card. And I picked it up, and in the top right hand side, it said Sonoy, Georgia, and it had a stamp, which is where The
Oh
Walking
wow.
Dead is filmed. And I thought, there's no way. Maybe it's just sort of return to sender because it had my return address on the back. And
Yeah.
I opened it up, and sure thing, there was a whole full-on A4 letter that this
Wow.
actor had written back to me, signed at the bottom, in response to what I'd written to them in my letter. Attached inside was also a little signed collage photo that they
Oh
personalised and
wow.
everything. And
Wow.
it
How cool.
the feeling of that just completely, it was amazing. And it was, at the time, to me, it meant everything. So
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
rushed
Yeah. Yeah.
out. I think I went to Next, a Next that was local to me, and I bought a picture frame literally within about an hour because I just wanted to get it framed,
Yeah.
and so that
Yeah.
it was preserved. And then the next time when this actor came to a UK convention, I think this is what made them remember me. I said, "Oh, I wrote a letter to you a few months ago," and then they were like, "Oh, that was you," and they recalled this whole letter and my name.
Wow.
And then
Wow.
from then on in, this actor's just, they gave me a shout out on Talking Dead. There's just been so much, but it was because
Oh
of that
wow.
letter
Yeah.
that all
Yeah.
of that's come from it. And obviously, being a fan of a TV show, having your favourite actor do that, it was just such a massive thing. So that's really special to me, and that's not
Yeah.
actually out here. But that is definitely the most prized thing. 'Cause it was just such a shock. I mean, I was just sending it hoping they would read it, not that I'd get anything back. So when I seen
Yeah.
that, even now, it just blows my mind.
Oh, that is so cool. That is absolutely awesome. I mean, so you say you go to a lot of conventions and stuff like that. I'm guessing it's things like London Film and Comic Con and those types of
Yes.
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've not been to one of those for like a long time, but yeah, I used to love going to those. So have you met many people at all going to these?
Yeah, I tried
Conventions? Yeah.
to. Yeah, totally. So I tried to go to as many as I can. As you mentioned, like Showmasters was the first
Yeah.
convention I went to when I was 7. Just went on a whim. My parents had actually seen it on BBC News. They were advertising it, and we thought, oh, what's that going on? And my dad worked in London, and he went, oh, it's this thing that goes on. It happened a couple of years ago, and people dress up as characters and whatnot.
Yeah.
So we looked it up online, and Christopher Lloyd was there, and I loved Back
Oh
to the
wow.
Future, and he
Yeah.
scared me in
Yeah.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but I still liked the film. And
Yeah. Yeah.
we just went down on a whim, and at the time, Comic Cons were a lot cheaper than they are
Yeah.
now.
Weren't they? Yeah.
So
Definitely.
I
Definitely.
think seeing him, like, a picture was about 30 £25 30, which now, see,
Mm.
it's nowhere near that really. And
No.
they
No.
got me one. It was near to my birthday at the time, and he was the first person that I'd seen at a Comic Con. But ever
Oh
since
wow.
then, I've been every year as much as I can. I see a lot less guests now and go more so for the merch. However, I
Yeah.
still do see guests, and if someone goes that I really want to see, I'll save and make the effort to see them, because the
Yeah.
prices now are really high. It'd be
Oh
impossible to see everyone you want to
yeah.
see, and sometimes it's a
Absolutely.
hard choice trying to decide. Yeah,
It
that's
is,
it.
yeah.
It's
I
just
mean, so because we went to Celebration and this time around, we didn't spend any
nice.
money on celebrations on autographs at all because they were just sky high. They really were. I mean,
Wow.
we went again in we went before in 2016, and
Yeah.
we specifically saved the money to go and see Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill.
Wow.
And I mean, those were expensive then, but for me,
God.
it was worth it because these are two people that I'd grown up with, not grown up with personally, but grown up with as a kid,
Yeah,
watching them on the telly in
of course.
franchises ever, which was Star
Yeah.
Wars. So to meet Carrie Fisher
Yeah.
and Mark Hamill, we were both like, wow, okay, and that meant a lot.
Yeah.
But we and those were characters that I didn't mind spending money on to see. I
Yeah.
don't get that kind of feeling when I see people from the prequels or when I see people from the sequels. Do you know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
we've met
Yeah, of
loads of
course.
people. We've met a lot of the original cast: Jeremy Bullock, Anthony Daniels, little Kenny Barker,
Wow.
Baker, Peter Mayhew, and it's just absolutely
Amazing.
fantastic. And I love seeing those guys, but
Yeah.
like you say, the prices and that's kind of put me off trying to
Yeah.
get autographs.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can imagine Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher. That's insane. I'm
That was
so
yeah.
jealous.
I
That's
was
really
like,
once in a
wow,
lifetime
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, I bet. I couldn't imagine that. That's amazing. And
And I
even
mean,
Star Wars
you
Celebration,
stand
I
next to
missed
Carrie
out on that.
Fisher. You stand next to Carrie Fisher, and you have your photograph taken, and it's not like you're just like standing side by side. She's actually coming for a full bear hug. I was like,
No
wow. This is like, I was like,
way.
what? And my wife was the
Oh my
same. It's like
God.
just wow, yeah, fantastic.
I
So
love that.
who's
I
the
love that
favourite person you've seen then?
she's like that.
Oh
Sorry.
yeah, no, she was absolutely incredible. She really was. I mean, she was a character in real life anyway, but and
Yeah,
yeah, she's just incredible, an absolutely incredible person to meet and talk to. So, is there
that's
anybody that you would
fantastic.
want to like really see? Is there anybody on the top of your list to go? Oh, I'd love to see these people.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know Mark Hamill wouldn't do one anymore, but if Mark Hamill was to ever go back and do a convention, absolutely, he'd be well at the top.
Mm.
Andrew Lincoln, as well, obviously Rick
Oh
Grimes.
yeah,
He's probably
yeah,
I've tried to see as much of the Walking Dead cast as I can, and he's the only
yeah,
one really that I haven't met. I came
yeah.
very close. I managed to get tickets to see him, and he cancelled the day before, and I was
Oh
gutted because I
yeah,
literally thought
yeah.
of people in the ticket wars, and
Yeah,
yeah, I'm still trying to make up for that. So Mark Hamill, Andrew Lincoln, anyone from the classics really. Michael J. Fox would be incredible.
yeah,
I just think he's an amazing human, and the stuff
yeah,
that he does is just
yeah,
fantastic. So
yeah.
even if I didn't meet him, I think if I ever saw him in person doing a panel or anything like that, I'd be pretty taken back and emotional because he's just an absolute icon.
Yeah, no, he's a quality guy, and
Yeah.
again, we were very lucky. I've never met him personally, but my wife, she went up when we went up to London Film Comic Con. Was it Tom Watson who played Biff and Michael J. Fox?
Nice.
So she's had a photograph, an autograph with I think no, it's photographs with these guys and stuff like that. But yeah, it's
Wow. That's
yeah. I mean,
amazing. What a
Sigourney
photo.
Weaver, I've managed to meet her and stuff like that and get a photo. She's
Really?
really cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really weird because
Really?
we have fads where we watch like programs. So we like watched a lot of Gotham. Well, we watched the whole of Gotham. We watched the whole of 24, and then I think it was 2004's Battlestar Galactica series, the updated
Yeah.
version. And
Yeah,
every
yeah.
time we watched it and we'd finish watching it, we'd look at the next London Comic Con and there'll be characters and people from those TV shows. So it's like, oh, let's go and have. So we've met people from Gotham. We've met Kiefer Sutherland from 24. What a guy he is. It's
Wow.
just like, yeah, yeah. I mean, we have been proper lucky with some of the people we meet. So or we've got to meet.
Yeah.
But I
And as you
I
said,
think
like,
now.
oh,
No, what was you going to say? Sorry, I cut you out. Sorry.
oh, sorry, I think you've frozen. 1 second. Oh,
Oh,
there you go. You're back.
Am I?
Sorry,
Sorry,
you're back.
sorry. Yeah, I was going to say. What were you going to say? Sorry.
Oh no, no, I heard up until you said going through like Kiefer Sutherland, and then you froze. I was just
Oh,
gonna.
yeah, yeah. No, I don't think I said. Oh, no, I was going to say. I really don't know what I was going to say. So what I'll do is I'll carry on with the next question. Oh dear. Do you have a Grail piece? And when I say Grail piece, it doesn't have to be the most expensive piece that you can imagine. It could be a piece that you've seen in a store and you thought, I won't get that yet, and then you walk off, and then you think, oh yeah, I'll go back and get it, and you don't see it again for months on end. Is there anything like that in your collection that you would like to get?
Yeah, I'll have a quick look round. Yeah, actually, I feel like Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Disney World was when it opened. So we managed to get to Florida, and Galaxy's Edge was opening, and we wasn't sure if we were going to make it. And about 2 months before we went, it was announced that we were going to be 3 days out of it opening, and I was gutted. So I thought, no, 3 days. We've been planning this holiday for ages, hoping we'd catch it, and we're not going to, because when we fly back, it'll be 3 days until it opens. And I was heartbroken because I just really wanted to experience it. I was lucky enough to go back last year and go into Savvy's workshop to get one of the lightsabers. And I'd say that's probably my grail piece, because I really had to. I was doing overtime so much at work, but every time I was there, I was just thinking, it's for the lightsaber, it's for the lightsaber. So
is this the
I
one that you
managed
make
to.
yourself?
It is, yes, that's the one. So they basically bring you in and you pick from 4 options, and then they give you the pieces, and then you go in and it's easy when you see it, but they give you options. So for the hilt, they'll give you 2 different switches you can choose, and then you pick one, and then they take the other away. But they do that with each part so that everyone creates
Right.
something
Okay.
different.
Yeah.
So my one, I did a silver and gold hilt, and I chose. They let you pick the color kyber crystal, and you
Oh wow.
pick it and you put it in. So I chose green. I loved the green. Yellow wasn't an option though, which I was quite surprised about. So they had purple, blue, red, green, and even holding it, because I thought, oh, it's expensive, but it's probably just because it's the experience and you're paying for like the actor to stand there and all of that stuff. But it's a fully metal, and it's huge. So I also have the dark saber from Mandalorian from Shop Disney, and it's so much smaller. It's about 7 inches smaller than the other one. So when I look at them, I think, wow, because probably someone somewhere has the same combination as the one that I do, but I like to see it as, oh, no one else has this one. Like this is what my lightsaber would be within the Star Wars universe. So yeah, I feel like that's my grail piece, because I really worked hard to try and get that. And looking at it, as you said,
Cool.
looking at your collection earlier, that's the first thing that my eyes go to, is always that.
Awesome. I mean, we've been to Florida, but we never managed to do the lightsaber building. How is that as an experience? How would you describe that as an experience?
Yeah, really good. I think the only negative that I would have is that it was the height of summer, and obviously Floridian heat is very hot, much completely different to what us Brits are used to. And
Absolutely.
there was no shade at all outside, and there was no fans or anything. And I think our one was booked for about 11, and they let us in at 20 past 11. So for those 20 minutes, we were stood with no cover or anything, and it was hot. And if you left the queue, you were worried, because they could have been let in at any time within that. We didn't know it was 20 past. We were supposed to be in at 11. So we thought, if we go to get a drink, they could go in and then we'll miss it. So that would be my only one thing that I didn't enjoy, because it was so hot and I just wanted to get in and to get it done. But the actual experience itself was brilliant, because it's so immersive and you're so focused on the task. And because, a bit like what I mentioned earlier about the Lego and building things, it keeps you occupied, and when you're in there, it just feels so real, and it really makes you feel like you're becoming your very own Star Wars character, and you leave with it thinking, this is amazing. You just sort of want to play with it as well, but obviously in the parks you also don't want to get out and start waving the lightsaber around and get hitting a load of people in the head. So yeah, that's it. The actual experience itself was amazing. I think it was about 25 minutes as well, which is longer than what I thought it would be. I thought it may feel a bit rushed, but there was none of that. And they gave you a nice carry case as well, which was nice. So you knew it was protected, and I didn't have to worry about it getting smashed, which obviously would have been tragic.
So missing out the first time around by 3 days, you went back last year. What were your thoughts on Star Wars Galaxy's Edge as a whole, with the experience and everything that you get with it?
Yeah, I loved it. I really did. I just felt so, I guess, emotional more so than anything, because the staff really made it feel immersive, and obviously not everyone there, but the majority of people there, you could see how much it meant to them in their faces. And I'm a very people person, so I love sort of reacting off of other people's energy. And it just felt like
Yeah.
within that section of the park, everyone's energy was so high because it was so immersive and because people would. Star Wars means a lot to a lot of people, and it's obviously one of the biggest franchises ever. So for people that have been following it for whatever period of time, it all meant
Yeah.
something to the majority of people there. And I think that just made it so much better seeing these fans all together and with their lightsabers and building droids and the droids interacting with each other. So it was definitely the highlight of my holiday within that part, because that's pretty much what I went for, was to see Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people don't really like the Disney versions of Star Wars and the series they're bringing out now, but it still felt like authentic Star Wars to me, which I really loved. It still had that hold of the originals.
You hit the nail on the head there when you said it. The people there, everybody. It meant Star Wars meant something to everybody within that theme park and stuff like that. And you're absolutely spot on. You're absolutely spot on. Whether it's people from my generation that are, brought up on the original trilogy, whether it was those people that were brought up on the prequels, or whether it's the today's generation that are brought up on the sequels, there is Star Wars is for everybody. And I know a lot of people, me myself, tend to forget that Star Wars is for everybody. Now, I just because I'm not overly keen on what's transpired since Disney taken over, it doesn't mean to say I hate Star Wars. I think my generation falls into that trap where the sequels aren't what we would have done. It's not our Star Wars because that's not what we would have done. We would have carried on this, and that's down to fan expectation. So, but I mean, I think what they've done with that theme park, and for me personally, when I first saw that Millennium Falcon for the first time, I did come over with a tide of emotion. I was like, oh wow, it's just and I don't think seeing it on the TV or seeing it through someone else's video isn't the same as seeing it through your own eyes, is it? Seeing it there in
exactly.
person. Do you know what I mean? And even going on the rides. And I've said to people, take away the fact that it's a sequel, it's based on sequels. Just go there and immerse yourself within that experience and just enjoy it for what it is. And you just have a great time, don't you?
Yeah, totally. Again, you've hit the nail spot on it. Sorry, I don't know what I was trying to say there. You've completely hit the nail on the head. It's spot on. And when people, as you said, even if you don't like, due to fan expectation, the choices that Disney made for the films, when you still see the Millennium Falcon and you're there, much like yourself, you just have this emotion because it takes you back to the films that you did enjoy and the part of the franchise that you really liked.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do think it's that part, especially, I think, is the biggest part for everyone, seeing that ship and seeing how detailed it is. It's just amazing.
And when you said about the staff being they are so immersive, and it threw me a couple of times because we went in 2019 and there's this girl who played Ray. She was walking around and she was absolutely fantastic and she looked spot on.
Yeah.
And we went again in 2022 and she was walking around and I thought, that's the same one. So I turned around and said to her when she walked past, are you the same Ray that was here in 2019? She goes, what do you mean? She said, I'm the only Ray. And I was like, no. But back in 2019, and my wife was going, no, shut up. And I was like, oh. And it was only then that I realized. And she said, and I was like, oh God, yeah. And then I went to one of the stores and I wanted to buy something. And I said, do you do this? And she said, no. Try Tatooine Traders. And I think Tatooine Traders is the shop or the store that's near, where is it? The Star Tours. So I said, where's that? And she went, it's off Galaxy. And I was like, what the hell is that supposed to mean? And then I suddenly realized, I was like, oh yeah, okay. It takes a while because they are really into it, aren't they? It's just brilliant. It does throw you.
I love that. That's fantastic. I'm the only Ray. That's
I'm the only Ray. But in 2019, there was someone that looked like you. Was that you? Well, I'm the only Ray. And I was like, oh. Anyway.
I love
awesome
that.
Stuff. If you could only collect one toy line, what would it be and why? Going forward, you could only collect one toy line.
Wow. Oh, God, you put me on the spot. I'm gonna have to say the McFarlane for the Walking Dead figures, as that's the one
Yeah.
I've really stuck with the most, and I couldn't ever part with them. They're just I feel so attached to them. So yeah, the McFarlane Walking Dead range. 100%.
Awesome. Okay. Next question. Would you ever consider starting your own YouTube channel?
I mean, I do have a YouTube, but it's more for travel videos. So I
Yeah.
have my Instagram, and I've
Yeah.
just started up a TikTok as well. And my YouTube does have a little few toy bits on it, but I usually use it for, so just for example, I went to Centre Parks not that long ago, so I've put my daily vlogs whilst I'm at Centre Parks, but I also embed toys within that. So there's
Yeah.
a toy shop there called Just Kids, and I go in and I walk around it and I'm commenting on the toys. So there is still my collecting, you know, parts of what I do for fun within those.
Okay.
But if I have no like objections to if I was to make that fully just a toy channel. I would love that. I just think I would struggle with trying to find the time to edit them alongside my Instagram videos, because I feel like for YouTube I'd have to get them landscape, and obviously my Instagram is all portrait, so
Yeah.
it'd be difficult for me to find time, I guess. But no,
Because
absolutely, I would.
you seem really confident with your Instagram. I mean, you know, there's one thing I struggle. The one thing I don't feel comfortable doing is walking around with a camera, and do you know what I mean? And just
Yeah,
talking. And
yeah,
do you know what I mean? I tried doing it
yeah,
in the park last year at Florida, and I just didn't feel comfortable, so I didn't bother in the end. And it's like that with toy
yeah,
fairs. I can go around a toy fair and I can look, but you put a camera in my hand, and I'm a guy. I can't do two things at once. I can't walk around and try and look at everything and then keep an eye on the camera at the same time. I'm shit at both.
yeah,
So I just
yeah,
tend to stick with the one thing which is walking around and looking. But
yeah.
you seem really comfortable and quite confident when you're walking around the toy shops and stuff like that, and when you're doing your videos.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely didn't start, I guess, well, the first few videos I didn't end up using for that reason. I was very conscious of my surroundings, and I thought, oh, I don't want to talk to my phone in case I look weird. And obviously I'm very aware that toy shops, there's a lot of kids in them, and I really don't want
Yeah.
people to think I'm being weird. So I was very conscious of that. However,
Mm.
the way that I've sort of got around that is sometimes with my shop tours, not all the time, I'll film the products and I'll make it very clear. I'll hold my phone very far away so people can see what I'm doing. And if it's loud, I'll just voice over later. So it
Yeah.
kind of saves me the hassle of, having to talk whilst on the different things. But some of the times I will talk while I'm there. But yeah, I've definitely become more. It's weird. I obviously really appreciate when people do say, you're very confident, because a lot of people have
Yeah.
said it, but it's so weird because I feel personally even now still very conscious. But
Yeah.
the thing that gets me through doing it is just, I'm here for the videos, I'm looking at products. But actually Smith's, I told someone else this last week, but Smith's toy stores,
Yeah. Yeah.
um so my nearest one actually started thinking that I was a shoplifter not that long ago, which I don't
Oh,
understand,
wow.
because I'm always buying stuff in there. I mean, you've seen how many
Yeah.
mystery boxes and action figures and whatnot I
Yeah.
buy.
Yeah.
And yeah, I went in there. The past few times it was getting weird, because I'd go in and then I'd see someone, once I'd go in, stand at the door, and they'd be looking. And then next thing, so they wear headsets in there, there'd be about 3 or 4 people down the same aisle as me stacking, but they would all come down empty handed, but they'd keep looking over. And then I'd feel really uncomfortable, because I think, like, I'm not shoplifting. Like, I'm just trying to film these new, like, this new Funko or something.
Yeah.
And I'd never, like, it's not like I was going in, baseball hat and, trying to conceal my identity. I was going
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
just as I always do. And I actually had to say to the manager, like, I'm not sure if these are following me. Maybe I'm just being conscious. But past few times I've been in here, I have been getting followed. And she apologized and just said that, obviously, from where I'm in there looking at stuff, they just have a warning out, like if this person comes in, just keep an eye on them. But I explained to her what I was doing and showed her my Instagram, and then since then they've been like, we're really sorry. I was like, I promise I'm not trying to steal anything. I
Oh wow.
swear. So
Oh,
yeah, that was
embarrassing.
scary. So I thought any second now, like someone's just going to come in and arrest me for something I haven't
Yeah.
done. I just got
Oh
so
God.
panicked.
God.
So yeah,
I mean,
that
like I
that wasn't
say, I mean,
fun.
you look really comfortable and confident doing it. I mean, for example, I mean, I would be filming and I'll be blah blah blah, and there'd be a kid kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? I've got no
Yeah,
patience with that kind of thing. So
yeah,
I just I don't bother.
yeah,
But
yeah. It's
but no,
tricky. It is
awesome stuff.
tricky.
Yeah. And like you say, with the filming
It's
and stuff like
difficult
that,
because
especially this day and age with the kids.
yeah, I think that's probably. I mean, it doesn't probably help me looking shifty, but obviously that's why I look up and down the aisles, because I just don't want to get anyone else, whatever age they are. I don't want them to think that they're in whatever it is I'm doing. So my
Yeah,
first thing is to initially find the aisle. If it looks busy, I'm like, okay, I'll come back to that later, and I'll
yeah,
find the aisle. And if it looks empty, I do look up and down it a few times, just that when the phone is on me, there's no one in the background. And then obviously, if someone does come down, my first thing is to take my phone down, which probably I get why it does look weird, but also I'm not, as I said, like I'm not going into these places once in a blue moon, and I'm not holding really expensive things. A lot of the time I
yeah,
don't actually pick up the stock unless it's high up and I want to do a close up. So a lot of the time I'm not
yeah.
actually even touching anything. So yeah, it is difficult. And as you said, with patience, sometimes you'll be having a really good shot or you'll be talking and someone will just scream and you're like, come on, like, it's just I'm gonna have to say all that
I
again
just
now.
needed another 10 seconds. Just shut up. But yeah,
Yeah, that's
awesome,
it.
awesome. Um, right, we're coming to the top of the hour. I've got 2 questions left for you. What
Okay.
gives you that toy collecting buzz?
Oh, in regards to like
Collecting
the
toys.
yeah, I just feel like it really goes back to when I was a kid, and
Mm,
you'd watch whatever franchise it was, and you'd feel like you owned a piece of it, and that piece of it was with you, and it just made it feel
yeah,
so much more personal. So I feel like even now, when I see all these things coming out, I mean, one of the most recent things that I was doing for Instagram was the Lilo and Stitch mystery bag clips. Now,
okay.
they're not the biggest, they're not extremely overly collectible. They're not a massive toy, but they're all based on the experiments from the TV show. And I always thought they looked cool. And a lot of the time with stuff like that, you always see the main characters of things, like Mickey Mouse is always in mystery boxes for Disney. And I've always liked the underdog and the lesser known characters. So
Yeah,
with those, what gave me a buzz was finally opening something after all these years that I haven't been able to buy before. So I do always try and buy things that maybe fly under the radar a bit.
mm,
And I think feeling like I have that is what gives me the buzz.
awesome, awesome. Are you one of these people that prefer getting stuff off on well, getting, like, your bits online, or do you prefer going out to a brick and mortar and actually going in store and finding stuff for yourself? And like you say, like at toy fairs or something like that?
Yeah, definitely between the two in person. I love nothing more. I for my Instagram, I pretty much every day I go into a toy shop or a comic shop to try and keep up the content because I post daily. And it can be tricky because not all the time there's new things, and you're
Yeah.
sort of looking, thinking, well, what am I going to do today? I haven't got anything else. But the good thing about doing that is I'm very fortunate that where I live, there's a lot of toy shops that buy in secondhand pieces. So they're
Okay.
getting drop offs in daily from people selling their collections.
Mm.
Sometimes from sad circumstances, people have just fallen on hard times and they've had to sell their whole collection. And
Yeah,
it's sad
yeah,
because you're looking at it thinking, someone really loved this. But I think the nice thing about that is that by giving it to somewhere like that, that the people that go into these places are going to be people that are going to really cherish it the same way that
yeah,
the person that gave it in did.
yeah.
So I love supporting, first and foremost, the small local businesses that buy in secondhand and new toys, because I feel like
Mm.
they're the ones that really benefit from it the most. And then bigger chains like Smith. And I try to go to online last, unless it's for things like pre-orders, only
Yeah.
because I love actually seeing things and being in that environment and looking at different things going on. I feel like sometimes online that can get lost. And I also
Mm.
panic about damage, not from everywhere, But
Yeah.
there's been a couple of times I've ordered something, I've been really looking forward to it, and then it arrives and it's crushed or it's damaged, and you think, oh my God,
Yeah.
now I've got
Yeah.
to send it
Yeah.
back, and there might not be
Yeah.
any left. And it's crushing because obviously people buy this stuff because they love it and it means something to them. So when it arrives damaged, it makes you just so angry and annoyed. And a lot of the time, their mistakes aren't rectified if the item is sold out or for whatever reason. So
Yeah.
definitely, first and foremost, I try to do shops. There's one near me called Nerd Base, so it's a like little local owned
I know
business. So
Nerd Base. Yeah, yeah. I know Nerd Base. I went down there
yeah,
in the summer, yeah, August. Yep, yep. Wow.
nice. Yeah, so
So that's
yeah,
local
Nerd
to you, is
Base. I
it?
mean, yeah, very local. 20 minutes, if that, 15.
Right. There's another
Um,
shop
so
down there called Retro Toy Shop as well.
yes, yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's I think that's a little bit further on from me. I don't go
Yeah.
in there as often,
Okay.
but that's only because sometimes I'm a bit of a nervous driver. But I know the route to Nerd Base like with my eyes
Yeah.
closed.
I got to say, I love Nerd Base, and when I walked in there, it was like, wow, look at this, and you had stacks
Yeah,
and stacks. I mean, they had, so like for example, I had like Clone Troopers. It wasn't just one or two; it was a whole peg full,
yeah,
You just think that's how the shops used to be back in the 80s. Do you know what I mean? You used to have
really,
Woolworths, used to have Debenhams, used to have Toys R Us,
yeah,
and you just, yeah, I love Nerd Base. We need to go back there at some point, definitely. So,
yeah,
and I can't believe
definitely
you
do.
post on Instagram every day. That's incredible. That's got to be time consuming, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It really is. I've had a lot of people say, like, where do you get the time to do all this?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
like that every day, I'm posting a reel about being in one shop or going to another, and I do try and visit toy
yeah,
shops or comic book shops every single day.
yeah.
And yeah, it's during the time when I started the page, I was working night shifts, so I'd get up at midnight and I'd work until 10 a.m. So I'd actually start work
Oh,
at 2 a.m. and I'd work through till
yeah.
10. And then once I
Gosh.
finished work, then it would give me the rest of the day free. So I'd get to the sort of shops before school chucking out time,
Yeah,
about
yeah.
12 o'clock, film what I needed to do, get home at 2, about an hour to edit, post that day at 4. And then it became tricky if I was overrunning. So I began creating all my posts a week in advance. So usually all
Okay,
my
yeah,
posts now, unless it's something that I'm really excited about, they're all filmed and edited a week before. So I'll always
yeah.
have like reserves.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, it is really time consuming. I mean, I have a new job now, which is 9 to 5 weekdays, and
yeah,
it's a lot harder now because like that I can't go to the shops during the week, so I have
yeah.
to go to on the weekends. I have to go to multiple places at once, edit them
Wow.
all in the weekend, and then whilst I'm on my lunch break at work, post them then. So it
Dude,
really adds up. I mean, each reel
really?
takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours to edit
Yeah,
down
yeah,
and then to
yeah.
subtitle. So it really does. Yeah,
Well,
takes time.
now I know why you said about having the time to do a channel, because I mean, luckily for me, my work at the moment, and my shift patterns permits me to do 3 videos a week. Whereas
Yeah,
I know that if it was a case of me doing a 9 to 5, I
yeah.
would struggle. I would proper struggle.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. And with the commute there as well, like it takes me about 2 hours to get home. So by the time I'm
oh
getting
wow.
home, it's about 7, 8 o'clock. So it really is like I managed to
Mm,
keep it up, but it's definitely tricky.
yeah, yeah, definitely. But well, fair play to you. That's pretty good going. Pretty good going.
Oh,
Right
thank
then,
you.
the last question. What does
Nice.
your collection mean to you?
A very broken bank.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I sympathise. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's definitely. I mean, it's better than anything else. It brings me so much ardent joy that I just
Yeah,
really I I love it. As you said, you can just go out, you can chill out in your room, you can shut the door, and you can just look at everything. And for me, when I look at certain pieces out here, it reminds me of the films and the TV shows, and I can think about
yeah,
things. And I find it, I guess, quite not spiritual, but when you sort of the state people get in when they meditate and they're very calm.
yeah, yeah,
I just find that my collection just brings me so much inner peace, I guess.
yeah.
Like nothing else does. So to me, it means everything, plus the
Therapeutic.
broken bank.
Yeah, but I mean, I would say I would say I find it therapeutic in this room. within my
Yes.
collection and stuff like that, you know. And but yeah, I'm with you with the broken bank. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
100%.
Caitlin, I've got to say thank you so much for sharing your joy with us. It's been absolutely fantastic chatting to you. Unfortunately,
Thank
that has
you.
come to the end of the conversation. I've got one final question for you. Where can
Yep.
people find you on social media?
So you can find me on social media at
Oh, I feel like
Instagram, collector.caitlin,
Insta,
YouTube, Caitlin's POV,
what? Caitlin, what?
Caitlin's POV,
POB?
V for
POB?
Vendetta.
Oh,
Yeah,
V.
like point of view.
Oh, I know what it means. I just thought you meant B instead of V. Yes. YouTube and what else? TikTok.
TikTok, yes, collector.caitlin.
TikTok collector Caitlin. Lovely jubbly. And what I shall do is I shall leave the links to your social media platforms in the description below. This hour has absolutely flown by. It has been an absolute pleasure chatting to you. It's been so much fun.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much. And again, first time doing something like this. So how did you find it?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's made
good.
me just want to do more, to be honest. It's great talking to like-minded people, to be honest. It's very
Absolutely.
refreshing. So yeah, thank you so much. And I'll obviously, of course, give you shout outs on my Instagram and my pages as well,
You'll
because
make me
I've really,
you. Pack it in. Pack it in.
yeah,
No, thank you very much. Like I
I've
said, I
really
said
loved
to
it.
Des last week, it's people like yourselves that make this series, you know, tick. Because
Yeah.
if you weren't here, I wouldn't be here chatting to people, would I? So I wouldn't have a series. So
Yeah.
it's really down to you guys. So thank you so much.
No,
Unfortunately, that
thank
has
you.
come to the end of the chat. For those of you who have managed to stay with us the course, thank you so much for watching. Really do appreciate your support. Take care, stay safe, and we shall see you in the next video. Bye for now.